Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Content Workshop, where we talk about content in depth. Today, I am joined by Jarel Bell, otherwise known as JBProdigy. Jarel Bell is the head of content for the Atlanta Reign and Atlanta Faze teams, respectively, and he is joining us today on the podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, dude. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited about this. I'm glad we could lock on a time. I know with the Overwatch League starting up next month and CDL starting up next week, you're extremely busy. So the
Yeah.
fact that you could carve out an hour of your time is really appreciated.
Oh yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, man. Well, Drill, without further ado, I gave a little bit of an introduction, but if you just want to introduce yourself, whatever you think the listeners would want to know, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Jarel. I go by JBProdigy. I am the head of content for both Atlanta teams, Atlanta Faze and Reign.
Mm-hmm.
I've been with Reign since we started last year in season 2 of Overwatch League, and of course, we built Atlanta Faze to be what it is now. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that, and yeah, I'm just happy to be on the show.
Yeah, man. Awesome. I appreciate it. I guess the first and easiest thing for our listeners, because someone may not be familiar with your background, is basically like what got you started into content as a whole. You can start with eSports. If it happened before eSports, that's fine too. But
Yeah.
what got you started with all of this?
So I've always been to like content. I've always watched YouTube videos like when I was younger. Like my top like gaming content creators, Phase Clan, all that stuff. I was always a huge fan, and I was also really into movies. Like my end goal in like my life is to be a director for films.
Okay.
So seeing that and like wanting to tie stuff into video games, I was a huge gamer. I still am. I just wanted to figure out a way to like gap that bridge and create content, but also play video games at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
doing that is like kind of like my passion. Well, it is my passion, but it's like kind of like my lifeline of what I want to do. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much that, and then just going and playing. I was a huge competitor from sports and like from school, but in video games, I always like played game battles, and I wanted to be a professional Call of Duty player for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
So having that background of playing video games, wanting to play them at a high level, and also liking film, I kind of wanted to find a common ground of being in video games and esports, but not, if I can't be a professional player, what else can I do to be in
Mm-hmm.
game? You know what I mean? So just having that is kind of where I'm at today.
Okay, awesome. And how long ago did you decide to make that switch to more of the content or like take it seriously and start trying to build your portfolio and such?
Yeah, I mean, when I was like competing, I guess you want to say that, I was streaming and making YouTube videos. Like I would upload like VODs and I'd do like tutorials on my YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started doing that, my YouTube channel started picking up. It got more views and views, and I started having kind of a passion for uploading video games,
Mm-hmm.
uploading videos to YouTube. Even though streaming was fun, I liked the process of recording a video and then editing it and then uploading it for people to watch.
Okay.
And that happened about 3, 4 years ago when I started uploading and streaming. And
Okay.
then when I started taking it serious, when I started going to events and bringing a camera and filming, that was maybe like 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So it was not that long ago.
Awesome. And so I'm sure you be building your portfolio and such and going along and doing as much as you can. And then how is the process for being hired by the Reign as much as you want to share, can share, as far as reaching out to them and just that whole process?
So I guess I'll start from how I joined Overwatch League in general.
Mm-hmm.
So before this, I was actually on the San Francisco Shock, the
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco team. And from that, I was uploading videos from Call of Duty events. I think the video I uploaded was from New Orleans,
Okay.
and it was kind of like a cinematic montage of sorts where I would like get B-roll of various places around the event, and then I would intermix like gameplay with it to make kind of like a recap of the event, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
how G Fuel and like the league does already, but for like my personal channel. And I posted that video, and then I think a couple days later, the Shock started posting job postings because the league was starting. It was
Mm-hmm.
the very first year of Overwatch League. So every team was just, putting out postings for marketing managers, content creators, coaches, whatever. And I was like, you know what? I don't have that much experience in, content creation and being at the high level,
Mm-hmm.
but why not? So I sent that video in as my like application, my show reel, and then I got a call back and I joined them. I was with them for the season 1 of
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch League, and then we parted ways. I think like I like to think that I was ready, but I think from reasoning of leaving them, I don't think I was ready like mentally of what was taking for like a high level
Mm-hmm.
job like that, like Overwatch League, the LCS. Call of Duty League. Like there are really high levels of production, and you have to have, you don't have to have a lot of experience, but you have to have a level head of what you want to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I was ready for that in that aspect of being able to produce high quality content at that fast of a pace.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a really good learning opportunity for me. I went home for about 3-4 months, and then the Atlanta Reign formed their team,
Mm-hmm.
and the coach from the San Francisco Shock, Brad, his name's Sefi. He is the head coach for them, and I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, are you guys still hiring for content creators?" And he said, "Yeah, I emailed this guy," and that was the story from there. So I joined the Reign. I've been with them since the beginning. It's amazing. I love this place so much.
Mm-hmm.
Recently moved to Atlanta. I love Atlanta. And before Atlanta Faze, around I think October, November is when we shot everything, and the team was formed,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest is history.
Still the best inaugural team video, by the way. 100%.
Thank you, thank you.
100%.
That
I
video is
love that
so
one.
sick. I watch it like 3 times a week, dude. It's so cool.
Yeah, there was a couple, like, not to bash on the air teams. Everybody's doing the best they can, obviously, but a couple of announcements went out. I was like, man, this is a $25 million league. Let's like have
Yeah,
something come out that's actually like dope. And then that came
yeah,
out. I was like, there you go. Like, I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, man. That is an interesting kind of turn of events because you went from San
Mm-hmm,
Francisco Shock in the inaugural season, so brand new team, brand new org, brand new
mm-hmm.
procedures. Then you go to the Reign, which started in season 2. So
Yeah.
again, brand new league, a brand new team, brand new procedures.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting perspective that you've constantly been on teams that are kind of finding their way a
Right,
little
right.
bit. There's not anything set in stone, which has its own
Mm-hmm.
challenges. So over that whole process, one thing I would like to know, I know anyone listening would like to know, is like, what were the main challenges that you experienced personally, and also just as a content team, like what were the main
Right.
challenges you guys had to go through with that?
Well, season one in Overwatch League on the Shock is, for me, very difficult. I'm sure everyone else on the team can agree because it was, the first season. So no one
Mm-hmm.
really knew what they were doing. No one knew like what to make in terms of content because no
Mm-hmm.
one knew what people would like the fans would like. So there was a lot of struggles of finding like a cadence of content, like what should be like, a recurring series, what should we give to sponsors, what the fans want to see from the players.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that was like very difficult in terms of content creation.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year on the Reign, it was more we knew what we were doing. Like I knew what to make and like what stuck and what didn't. But I think in terms of difficulty, it was a new demographic. Like we're not catering to California fans, we're catering to Atlanta fans now. So it was like a lot of time, like content ideation building and building up schedules for sponsors of like what fans would want,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of aligning their brand guidelines of ours and having the players' personalities. Like the players on the Shock are very different from the players on the Reign. There's different personalities, and like in terms of a team as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of different classing personalities as well. So you have to find a common ground for everybody. And the people on the Reign, the players on the Reign are all great. I love them all, including all the players on Faze. Like we all, it's very unique of every player on the team. With the Reign, it has different nationalities, people from different countries,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those personalities make one great cohesive unit. Like everyone on the team gets along so well. Like it's super fun being around them. And
Mm-hmm.
then Call of Duty, like they're a bunch of young guys and they just love to have fun. So the teams that we have right now are just phenomenal.
Yeah, I had my notes pulled up here as I'm talking to you. And one of the things I underlined was the diversity in your Reign
Mm-hmm.
roster. I mean, it's crazy, and I know from a content perspective, like people, one thing that content creators, content managers, and just people on the outside looking in don't either address or realize is just the managing of people piece when it comes to making content,
Right,
like getting everybody in the same room at the same
right.
time, making sure everybody's on point, making sure people are like presenting the content in a genuine manner, like it doesn't look
Mm-hmm.
forced. Like there's so many nuances that people don't realize,
Yeah,
and when you add the diversity into that, it makes it even harder in ways, like not in a bad way. It's another challenge.
yeah.
And like you said, that a Phase roster, like you have three. I mean, Simp's not. Yeah, they're not all rookies, but at the same time, that's probably the youngest roster in the league, or one of the
100%.
youngest starting five
100.
rosters. So there's probably a lot of fun when it comes to making content with
Oh
those
yeah.
guys because they're eager. They haven't been around a super long time. But yeah, that's very interesting. What are some of the things that you learned from the OWL that you think can apply to the CDL as you're going in, making your content plan and stuff?
Yeah, well, the CDL is different from the CWL in terms of, it's a franchise league. There's regulations and rules you have to follow to like stay along with, the publisher Activision, what they want to see, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, teams and their sponsorships. For Overwatch League, it was a lot of brand centric content where we were doing stuff catered to specifically the team, not the game. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, you're making content for the game, but it's mainly for the fans that are in your demographic for the team.
Yes.
So I think one thing that people who are in content teams for the CDL
Mm-hmm.
that have not been it in the past, maybe that's like their first year in like a real league, is create things that are more organic and forced. Like if you have sponsors that have certain taglines or certain things that they want you to say in a video,
Mm-hmm.
have them. They can still say it. Like if it's mandatory, of course you still have to say it, but have the players say it in like their voice, like have their personality like show of what they're trying to do. So
Mm-hmm.
say like if a sponsor wants you to say their motto or their tagline, whatever
Yeah.
it is, have the players say it in a way they want to say it, like not as like they're reading off a script. Like
Mm-hmm.
have them say it organically. So having content catered to your fans that are more organic than forced and corporate like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, like script like, will go way further than just having it being read off a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Having the players speak organically and having their personality take control of the video is way more beneficial.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I have noticed that. I mean, I'm not inside, behind closed doors, obviously. This is a complete outside perspective, but it does seem like the CDL is a little bit more. I don't mean controlling in a derogatory way. It's just
Yeah,
controlling as far as how the content's being produced.
yeah.
Even the campaign video coming out with the Huntsman, that's coming out on the CDL channel,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's coming from the Huntsman. So just it's definitely a different dynamic from the Overwatch League, it looks like. And I think that's a huge challenge for you all. I'm sure you can agree is you have that challenge and you have the challenge of we have to build Atlanta Call of Duty at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. Like you're building local content, you're building borderless content in esports, and you're also building developer content. Like it's all centric along with
Yeah.
your sponsors. So all of that together probably is a very interesting beast when it comes to making a content like marketing campaign, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. But with the campaign, I know that Hector wanted to push that. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
he's the goat. He's the legend of Call of Duty esports. So
Yeah,
he knows what he's
exactly.
doing in terms of that. Like he knows that he wants to get the league to show them and showcase them before the event, having,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, the name of the title of the campaign, the run to the first event. So that was a great idea on his part. So
Mm-hmm.
I see nothing wrong with that. In terms of just the league, I wouldn't say it's controlling. I think it's more monitoring what teams are doing
Okay.
and what content they're creating. Like,
Okay.
of course, every person on the league, council, or like the heads of the league want teams to portray their personality and be as creative as they want to,
Mm-hmm.
because the teams being creative will show like their own voices. So
Mm-hmm.
Chicago and Dallas and New York all are different teams, and they all have different brand personalities of
Mm-hmm.
the players. So they're all going to have different forms of content. Same with Atlanta. So I think the league pushing out different avenues and streams of content for the teams is a great idea, because every team has different players, every team has different fans that all want to see different things, not all the same cookie cutter pieces of content that people don't want to see, that I don't want to see. So I think them monitoring content and social media, what teams are putting out, to make sure it stays along with brand guidelines. No one's bashing the game, no one's talking down on the league. I think that's what every team or every league does. Like the NFL does that, the NBA does that. So I think the league wanting to be more like traditional sports like basketball, football,
Mm-hmm.
baseball is a good idea, because the game is a multi-million billion-dollar business. So
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to treat it like as a business. So having it turn to a league, I think, is a no-brainer, honestly.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And you bring up social media and stuff like that. Like me and my buddy Anthony are doing a different podcast that's more tailored just to esports.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing we're going to go over next is social media guidelines and like content
Right.
guidelines. And you look at the MLB and NBA, like they have certain parameters, like they can't post like so many minutes for the game. They
Right.
can't post anything that's derogatory to the league or umpires, like all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And esports has never had that. Like
Right.
to be completely honest, Overwatch League's probably the first one that's ever like maybe monitored it, and now the
Mm-hmm.
CDL. So adjusting that properly, but also keeping that organic feel that the esport already has is definitely something that you guys are, as a challenge, you guys are going to have.
For sure.
But the player base with Call of Duty is so much higher, like so
Mm-hmm.
much naturally higher, that I think it's easier to take advantage of, those own individual brands, so to speak.
Yeah.
But as far as going up to the first event, as much as you were allowed to say, obviously, how has the prep been going up to the first event from a content perspective with the team?
Content perspective has been extremely well. We just got our well, not all, but I would say 95% of our equipment shipped into our temporary
Yeah,
facility
I saw the tweet
in
of you
Atlanta.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's so much equipment. I'm so excited. We like spent that whole night putting it together and everything. So it's
Hmm.
been a lot of fun. We've been doing storyboards. We have some content coming up before we go to Minnesota for Call of Duty. So we're
Hmm.
looking forward to posting that very soon.
Hmm.
In terms of content at the event, I can't really say too much,
Of
but
course not. Yeah.
it's gonna be something that will kickstart, I guess, like our content campaign for the
Hmm.
rest of the year. So I'm really excited what we're gonna be doing.
That's awesome. And in that same light, just for you, how stressful has it been? Because the Overwatch League starts February 29th, and then this
Mhm.
starts this week, and your first homestands in March, like really early. So,
Yeah,
how stressful has it been prepping both of those, or have you had to juggle it, or is it like you're
yeah.
focusing on one at a time, or how
Well,
does
I
that work?
mean, I did this for the first Rain homestand last year, so I
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit of experience preparing for an event and like prepping and starting to build out the arena and stuff like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit of experience in it, but now we have Call of Duty. It's double. So we're
Mm-hmm.
doing event planning for Call of Duty, and also doing event planning for Overwatch. So I guess the best way to put it is taking it not one day at a time, but like taking it an hour at a time because
Mm-hmm.
there's always going to be something that's coming up that might be unannounced, or something that is just we got to do this ASAP, got to get this approved and sent out to whoever needs
Mm-hmm.
to approve it. So I guess one day you're working on Overwatch, the next day you're working on Call of Duty event. One
Mm-hmm.
hour you're working on Call of Duty, the next hour you're working on Overwatch. So it's always a juggling aspect, and you just gotta take it one step at a time.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe you can speak more on this, but I think one of the things I see, at least, it's difficult for content managers, content creators that are managing these teams is you have a team that's the first year in the league, and you have another team that's the second year in the league, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to put out a lot of content, like as much content as possible, because in today's internet age, I feel like quantity is also a huge, like it's important because you
Oh
need to
yeah,
get eyes on the brand. But at the same time, as you say, you're doing storyboards and doing kind of the playing aspect of it is making that content output really high, but at the same time, making it brand centric, sponsor centric, like you don't lose your way. Because it's easy to put out a video a day almost. Not easy, but you could. But is it really pointing towards the brand and like furthering that brand, or are you just putting out
yeah.
content to put out content,
Like
basically?
of course you can put out as many pieces of content as you want. You could put out like 5 pieces a day if you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to. But really, if you think about it, like what does that content achieve, and like who's really grasping that content at the point in time?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, especially like this year, now that we're traveling like almost every week,
Yeah.
it's more quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Like say if we do like 3 videos a month,
Mm-hmm.
and those are really high production, value pieces of content, whether it be for the sponsor, whether it be for the league, whether it be for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 pieces can carry more weight than say a team making 6 or 7 pieces of content that month.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, like one, it'll reduce burnout rate because one, we are traveling a bunch and we're all making pieces of content very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And there also has the pre-production, the production time, and also the post-production.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of time put into how long it takes to edit a video, approvals from owners, league sponsors, whatever the content's going to be. So there's going to be a lot of processes in terms of putting a video out this year
Mm-hmm.
for every team, not just us.
Yeah.
um, so in doing that, I think teams will have to figure out a cadence of how much you're going to upload, the length of the videos, and kind of what the content's going to cater to, whether it be for sponsors, the fans, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, I think it'll relieve a lot of burnout for content creators and the content team. And also just, giving fans something to look forward to, whether it be every week, every 2 weeks, every month, because creating, that cadence of, all right, we're going to post this video every other Monday. We're going to post this video once a month. We have a podcast once a month. I think that'll, have fans looking forward to it because say you have a match this week and you are going to take that other week to create the content from the match.
Mm-hmm.
So fans will know, all right, we have a match here. We're going to have a piece of content from that match next week. So
Mm-hmm.
I think creating a cadence will be really important for a lot of content teams.
Yeah, cadence is really important. Consistency is really important. I think that quality versus quantity argument is obviously prevalent
Mm-hmm.
everywhere as far as finding what's right for you. And I think it also that that argument's super hard to like discuss with people because it depends on the brand, it depends on the
Right.
esport, it depends on the time of the year it is, like off season versus like in the heart of the season or right at the start of the season. Like all these things can make that change,
Right.
right? And I think it's really difficult. Plus, in esports, I think this is different than traditional industries, in my opinion. Even sports is you have like traditional sports brands put out content, but esports like it's really segregated into like what is for the fans, what is for the sponsors, and what is for like the brand as
Mm-hmm.
a whole. Like you can put it in categories almost, but
Right.
like in each one of those categories has a different cadence. So it makes it really difficult, at least in my opinion, overall. But that's really interesting. That it's really difficult. It's crazy to me that you guys are prepping for two teams like that. I don't even know how you guys sleep. I don't know how many people you guys have on your content team. I
We
don't.
have strictly content creators. We have 4, including myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. And I know you guys are 1,000 times better than me, but me even doing my like little in-house production of stuff I'm doing, like I'm
Mhm.
sitting here thinking like, how do these guys put out this content at this pace? Like, do these guys sleep? Like, I literally ask that all the time.
The answer is no. We don't sleep.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, and I've talked with other guests about this, is when you're doing something like it sounds cliche, but when you're doing something you love and like that you're passionate about, you can work 15 hours and it doesn't feel like a 15-hour work day. You know,
Oh yeah, for
you're
sure.
just like loving what you do, and if you love what you do, then you're not working. Basically, is the
Oh
way I
yeah.
put it.
And I mean, there's always times where you're gonna get, upset with what you're doing, and
Mm-hmm,
you're gonna get like not burnt out, but kind of like over stressed, where you're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. But when that happens, you just got to take a break. You step away from your computer, your camera, whatever it is going to be, and go out, see a movie, something like that. Just take a breather of what you're doing,
mm-hmm,
and in doing that, one, it'll let your mind refresh and kind of reload, and then when you come back, you'll have a new mindset. You might think of stuff in an edit that you didn't think of before, and
mm-hmm.
ultimately that makes the video better. So there's always gonna be times where you hate what you're doing or you just want to stop and quit. But my advice is just push through it, take a break, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
be better.
Awesome. Yeah, and in that light, I guess a little kind of a lighter note is, can you think of one instance in your career so far where, like one, I guess horror story, the best way to put it, like one time where you're like, it kind of sucked, or like, I don't know, a funny story or anything like that as far as the difficulties of behind the scenes content creation?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of a shoot that this happened.
That's probably a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Well, I guess it wasn't like a particular production shoot, but it was. I remember there was a match
Mm-hmm.
on the Shock last year where my like Ronin, my gimbal,
Mm-hmm.
it kept like malfunctioning. Like it kept like it wasn't dying. It was fully charged. I think there was like a wiring issue, and I was trying to like film, and like it kept like dying out on me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting so mad. I was like, if this happens one more time, I'm just gonna put my equipment away and just go home. And I was looking forward to shooting so bad that day because I had like a great idea of like a piece of content I wanted to create,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like killed my entire mood. It happened like 3 or 4 times. I just threw that thing away. I was done with it. I was like, get this gimbal out of my sight. I don't want to touch it anymore.
Oh, that's terrible. That's gotta suck too when you have, because I've already. That's funny you mentioned that kind of story because it happened with another guy I was on a podcast with, where your equipment's
Mm-hmm.
just like saying "f you," I'm not gonna work. Like
Yeah,
he had to do a photo shoot for like a movie set, and he got there and his camera just locked up on him. He's like, "You gotta be
mm-hmm.
fucking kidding me! Like, I
Yeah,
can't
it's
believe this is
so
happening right now."
frustrating. Yeah,
Yeah, technology only works when you doesn't work when at the very worst times.
I know.
How much equipment do you normally take to an event? Like, it's got to be a freaking couple duffel bags. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, I mean, of course, you bring our camera bags and our
Mm-hmm.
equipment for the cameras. If we have gimbals, you bring that. There's also travel lighting sets where we can just do like a 3-point lighting setup for like interviews, whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe total about 4 or 5 carry-on items
Mm-hmm.
of equipment worth.
Yeah, that's gotta be crazy because you gotta have all the different like lenses, all the different like
Hmm.
lighting, battery, like even just batteries and like extra stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like you always have to have that on hand
Hmm.
and ready. Uh, Especially from a videographer standpoint, it's got to be
Right.
crazy. But yeah, so talking about all this different type of content and pace and cadence and stuff like that, for you specifically, what is your, I guess, content philosophy? I know it's a broad question, but like,
Hmm.
what do you believe works and doesn't work within esports as far as content and what you've experienced so far?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it earlier with being organic. than rather just following a script or like being kind of cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of things have to do with letting the player personalities take control over the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So you can ask the player, is there anything you want to say or put in the video that hasn't already been said? Like, kind of let them not take the reins of the video and like kind of direct it, but let their personality show through what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it be like a studio shoot where they're like saying lines like a skit, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
just let their personality show through. So that I would say, take your time with what you're doing. So whether it's take 10 minutes before the shoot starts, where you make sure you have all your equipment, make sure it's all set up, charged, whatever. That extra time can go a long way, because you never know if you forgot to charge your batteries one night
Mm-hmm.
for a shoot, and you get there and you're ready to shoot. Everyone's ready, all in like the dressing room, ready to go, and you turn your camera on and say action, and your camera starts. So
Oh wow.
taking the extra couple minutes to make sure you're just
Mm-hmm.
ready to go. Another thing is, let don't let an ego get in the way of what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
because on a team, like in a league, the LCS, Call of Duty, Overwatch, whatever it may be, there's going to be a lot of different levels of approval.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be, if you're the content creator, the person editing the videos, you're an editor. There's going to be, the director of content, the head of content, the team manager, owner, and then also, if we're making something for a sponsor, the sponsors have to, approve it from legal. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, even if you think the video is like the fucking best thing you ever made in your life, like
Yeah.
it's literally like a Steven Spielberg production,
Mm-hmm.
don't let an ego get in the way of, oh, I thought this was great, what's wrong with it? Like, why are you changing stuff last minute? There's always going to be notes you have to do. There's always going to be edits you have to make to cater to whether it's your superior or the league, the sponsor. So there's always going to be things that you have to do to kind of cater to them. So I would say, swallow your pride
Mm-hmm.
and put out what they suggest, because you never know, it might be better than you would have thought,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times they have years and years of experience ahead of you. Even if it's like your fourth year in something like this, they
Mm-hmm.
could have been doing this for 15 years. So you never know what their background is, and if they're in the position that they are right now, obviously they know what they're doing. So I would say, just let them guide you the to the path you're going to be on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't be a focus grouper one is like the mainstay kind of thing is like you may think it's the best way to do things, but it might not be, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, get as much input. I always try to get as much input as possible. I ask
All right.
people that, and I say it's the most humble way possible. People that maybe don't have as much experience as me, I'll ask them what they think, because,
Mm-hmm.
brand new experiences, they haven't formed bad habits. I'll ask my peers and I'll ask people above me. So asking people as much as possible to kind of sanity check your work and just see what they think about it is really good. And then going back to your first point, this kind of jogged my memory. I always think that this is one of the toughest things that I think isn't talked about for people like doing the shoots is kind of during the bad times for players. You said let the player's personality shine. So this is what made
Mm-hmm.
me think of it is like during the bad times, I guess, like after a hard loss. Like I said, my buddy, we were talking about, he's a photographer, and one piece of content always like that jogs my memory is when Optic lost champs and Formal had his
Mm-hmm.
head in his hands and like sitting there, like as a guy behind the camera, how hard is that to like sit there and be like, damn, the last thing these guys want is somebody to film them right now.
Yeah.
But I want to capture this moment because it's something that they're going to want to see later on, regardless of how they feel right now.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
got to be difficult.
yeah, it's definitely difficult, but I mean, it's just something you have to gauge. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think a lot of people, especially people on my content team, Nick and Danny, can definitely attest to this too. Like, it's something you have to just gauge in the moment. Like, if everyone just looks like they want to kill each other,
Mm-hmm.
it might not be a good time to film.
Yeah.
But I mean, in those moments, I wouldn't say like hide the camera, but kind of put some distance between you two. So put some
Mm-hmm.
distance between you and the player. So you
Mm-hmm.
plan to film, but it's not like they feel like they're directly being filmed. Because if you're just going right into someone's face and filming them when they just lost, and like the world's over for them,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna hate the hell out of that. So I would say, especially if it's like in a group setting, like a team setting, when like they're going over like their last minute words of
Mm-hmm.
encouragement, like the coach is giving like the last minute, hey guys, you did great today, don't feel too bad. That's definitely something you're gonna film, because it's gonna be something that you can put in later of like a triumphant comeback. Like maybe you
Yeah.
play that team the week after and you like just completely roll them. Like that's something you're gonna put into the beginning of the video. So I would say always film, but get your distance, because you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing you have to gauge. And the reason I brought it up is because I love, personally, this is just one man's opinion, but I love those content pieces because in
Yeah,
traditional sports, you don't see that as much. Like after a hard loss, you see it on the court or on the field, and then they kind of, I guess the reporters will ask them questions in the locker room, but you don't see that post game reaction with traditional sports players as much. Like
yeah.
it's kind of hidden. They have their own privacy, which is good. But I
Hmm.
think that's one unique aspect of esports is in content, like we kind of cover everything.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a generational thing. Our generation's more comfortable with that than previous ones.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I do like that input that you got to just kind of gauge the room and see what's going on. And also having the relationship with those players, like from day one, they understand you're doing your job just like they just did theirs. So
Right.
it won't be as big of a deal for them.
And I mean, to add on to that, I
Hmm.
mean, you could only capture a moment once. So
Yep.
even if it's like the worst time ever for the team, like you're only going to get that opportunity to film that one time in your life. So
Hmm.
you never want to miss something like that.
Exactly. Awesome. Yeah. And as you're moving forward, I know you said that one day you want to do, you know, I think it was movie production, correct? You want to be
Hmm.
like a director.
Yeah.
So for your future goals, I know you'd read the prompt prior, but I guess I'll kind of split this into two. Kind of your future goals as an esports creator, and then also just you as a whole, which I know you alluded to earlier. But like, what are your future goals as a storyteller, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to create the best content we can for
Mm-hmm.
both leagues, OWL and CDL. I think we do that now, and we do a great job of it. I just want to continue it at a higher standard. We got a bunch of amazing camera equipment, so I just want to up the production
Mm-hmm.
to stay on that level and control the reins of where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
In other terms, I definitely want someone on the team to achieve the videographer of the year award from the esports awards
Oh
in,
yeah.
in any means. I wish there was an award for like content studio or like production team award, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll get there. Who knows? I think personal goals. I definitely want to. In some point in my life, I'm 22 right now. I do want to get on the 30 under 30 list for Forbes.
Oh
Some
yeah. That'd be
somewhere or
awesome.
the other. I think that'd be fucking sick. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'll get there.
Yeah. One
And then
hour at a time, right? No, I was
yeah,
kidding.
and then of course being a director or some form of on the production crew, whether it be a production assistant, producer, director, whatever, on like a major movie
Mm-hmm.
production. So those are my main goals right
Awesome. Who's your favorite personally? Who's your favorite director, like
now.
in the movie business?
My favorite directors, I would say Martin Scorsese
Hmm.
and the Russo brothers from Marvel. Like I
Okay.
love the Marvel movies, so seeing them make those movies and how good the production quality is, and just how especially for Marvel, like out of all the movies they made, how they all told one story, like the Infinity Saga, like
Hmm.
from Iron Man to Endgame, like how every single movie they made, and of course they didn't direct all of those, but just Marvel in general,
Hmm.
how every movie that has been made led up to one end final story. So I think that's just amazing
Yeah,
storytelling on their part.
I agree. And one thing that I haven't read into it, I should have. I just saw the main article line, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
is they're talking about the alternate universe type
All right,
series they're gonna do. Like, what if this would have happened? And that's
right.
so cool because I've never seen a movie series do that. Like, yeah, we have this amazing story, but like,
Mm-hmm.
what would have happened if this would have happened in that amazing story? I don't think I haven't seen a lot of any movies or series do that where
Right.
you basically can rewind and now basically retell a
Mm-hmm.
story again. I mean, it's just that's kind of like the most simple thing ever, but it's kind of genius in how they're doing that overall. Yeah. Yeah, man. So the Marvel series is good. I've never like gotten into the directors a whole lot. Obviously, I love movies and stuff like
Right.
that. I only know like the mainstay ones, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is. I may even need to do my research on some of this stuff because I guarantee you there's like I have my favorite movies, and sometimes I can't even name the director of those movies. So I need to
Yeah.
start looking into that more. Um,
Yeah, it's funny because like obviously people who watch movies go for like their actor, but like if there's a director or like someone on like the studio list that I like and I know, I'll go
hmm
see it just because I want to see like their process of filming.
hmm
Like for I think Uncut Gems, the movie with Adam Sandler, that was an amazing movie, and like one of the directors is someone that I'm a fan of, so I wanted to see the movie really bad just because he was directing it. So I think it's funny how like directors and like just people who like movies for like the actors kind of see movies for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of Uncut Gems, I need to go watch that. I have not seen that yet. It looks
It's a
really
great
good.
movie.
And I'm a Boston Celtics fan, so Kevin Garnett's in there.
Yeah.
So I definitely will watch that for sure. That's awesome, man. So for I'm just because I'm curious, like you sparked my curiosity a little bit about it. As far as getting into the movie business, is that something that you need more of an educational thing, or is it similar to esports where you just got to network and kind of know the right people, or like what's the process of even diving
I
into
mean,
that Hollywood style stuff?
yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, obviously, there's people who for sure got into where they're at in like the movie business from just knowing people and networking.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, a lot of it from an advanced standpoint is something you have to go to school for sure. Like film school, engineering school, whatever like your role is on the studio list.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a little bit of both. Of course, you can have all the experience in the world, but you still need to know certain people to get to where you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So hopefully that works out for you because that would be awesome. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
It'd be like 20 years from now, be like you directing a major movie. Be like, yeah, I had that guy on a
Yeah,
podcast 20 years
anyways,
ago. No,
yeah.
just kidding. Um, this is a easy shout out, but yes, that's awesome, dude. So I guess the last thing that I want to talk to you about because we've had a pretty good flow so far is, and we talked about this before the podcast, but your advice to other creators, and this is kind of a 2-part question. I didn't put a 2-part in the actual prompt that I sent you, but your advice to someone just starting out, like maybe they just bought their first camera, just bought their first piece of equipment, and they're like, okay, where do I go from here? And then
Right.
your advice for people that are making that leap that you made 2 years ago, where they're like, okay, I've been doing this for a few years. I have a good YouTube channel. I have a good portfolio. I want to do this full time. Like, this is what I want to do with my life. So your advice to those 2 stages of people, basically.
Yeah, I think my advice for sure, if someone just bought their camera,
Mm-hmm.
to not, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't compare yourself buying a camera an hour ago to someone who's been making videos and films for 5 years. Like, that's impossible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's just a dumb way to look at things.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you just bought your camera and you're just starting to get into video production and editing, I would say take it one step at a time. Like, learn the ins and outs of the camera and like all the controls and the features of the camera. Then learn, framing, thirds, and just how to set a shot to get, the voice you want from that particular shot.
Mm-hmm.
Just learn the ins and outs of everything you want to do. And then I would say, start small, like start just doing little videos around your house, whether you're in the video, whether your family's in the video, whatever, your friends, and edit those little things and create something cool out of that, because starting that founding, building block will, build to different things in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one thing that I see true to myself today is to just, you never know who's going to see your work.
Mm-hmm.
Like with joining the Shock, like I didn't think that video from the Call of Duty event was going to get me into the Overwatch League. So you never know who's going to see your videos. You never know which video is going to, make you explode, because
Mm-hmm.
your next video could change your life. That's what I always say.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to keep creating, even though when you think, you're done, you want to quit, you think, oh, this isn't going anywhere, your next video might change your life. So just keep grinding for it, and you never know what's going to happen.
Okay. That's a good piece of advice. And one thing I always tell people is like, and you kind of already alluded to it a little bit, but like document everything. Like everything you
Mm-hmm.
do, like you never know what's gonna make you stand out. Like
Right.
if, especially with creators, if you've even I've had other people like my friend Helena. She told me like when you go to events, like that should be on your resume. Like even the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you covered it, the fact that you traveled and went to an esports networking event, the best way to
Right.
look at it. Like that is important, and that can set you apart from somebody with a very similar resume. I think people might think little stuff like you just said, like even filming videos around your house, like people think that's not important, but it actually is
No,
because
yeah.
you're learning the fundamentals of what it means to be a storyteller, basically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think all of that, and just if you really love it and you're passionate about it, like you're gonna get somewhere. Like it might not be next week or a month from now or even a year from now. It might not even be 3 years from now, but you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get there regardless if you really want it. Like there's a difference from people who want it and people who like want it more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one thing separates a lot of people from the pack. Like if you really want to be this, like you're gonna be it, like, no matter what. Like the universe works that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I believe really strongly in the law of attraction. Like if you want something and you say you're gonna get it, like you speak it out into the world of the universe, like it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna happen. So I would say no matter how hard it gets, no matter whether your friends don't support you, your family doesn't support you. Like I had a really good support structure. Like my parents, support everything I did.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, friends in school, made fun of me for, like in video games, making videos, but
Mm-hmm.
now I'm here, so you can't really laugh at that because I stuck to it. So
Yeah,
it's been
exactly.
a lot of time in the making. Like I wanted to be a professional Call of Duty player since I was like in 6th grade, and
Mm-hmm.
that turned into this. So might not be the exact revenue or avenue I wanted to start in, but I'm still in esports, so it still worked out. So I would say just keep going for it no matter what happens, and just follow it to the end.
Yeah, and I agree. And you brought up a good point about friends. Like, even me with this little measly podcast, like, I'm having people DM me, like, what are you doing? Like, they're just not used to it. And I think a lot of
Who
people,
cares, bro?
yeah, exactly.
Who
A
cares?
lot of people, I don't care at all, but a lot of people are, like, I think afraid of judgment a little bit with what the
Yeah.
content they put out. It only takes, like, one comment in today's age to, like, derail a person's
Yeah.
entire plan. Like,
And I think esports is really helpful too, because in school I wasn't like a huge introvert, but I was like a quiet kid. Like I was
mm-hmm,
really quiet. And I think just, making YouTube videos and streaming really brought me out of my shell. Like now I'm a huge extrovert. Like I love talking to people. Like I love public speaking. Like
mm-hmm,
before that, like in school, if I tried to do this, I would, pass out. But like now I think esports helps a lot of people out. Like I think, obviously gamers, the stereotype for gamers is to stay in their basement all day playing video games. But for a lot of people in esports and video games, it's not the case. Like they're some of the most outgoing and likable people you'll ever meet in your life. So
mm-hmm.
I think just in terms of that, like whoever makes fun of you or whoever doesn't agree with what you're doing, like at the end of the day, it's only you going for what you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Like only you can stop yourself from doing something in life you want to do. So I would
Yep.
say just don't worry about what people say, because now at this point in time, I can care less about people's opinions, because as long as I'm happy with it and the owners, Paul, and the league and sponsors are happy with it, like that's all that matters. And of course, you want to cater to your fans. Like I'm not saying in the terms of don't care what your fans want to see, because you always want to please the fans and what they want to see. But in terms of people
Mm-hmm.
who just want to hate for no reason, like for one person that hates what you did, there's 5 people who like it. So
Exactly.
there's people who are just going to hate for no reason, which is what I'm trying to say. Like don't
Mm-hmm.
care about people who just want to hate and just bring you down for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
But people who support what you Reign and Faze videos, like we're always going to cater to them. Like we love them. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's my advice.
Okay, yeah, and that's really good advice. I think everybody needs to hear it. I think that advice is really similar with a lot of people in the space. And the one thing I always say is if you keep hearing the same thing over and over, it's probably true. Like it's not like
Mm-hmm.
it's one person. So that's really good sounding advice for any creator. And I think esports is a world full of extroverts or introverts almost. I
Yeah.
found a lot of introverts within esports because it gives you a platform to grow. But yeah, man, that's really good advice. But overall, man, I appreciate the conversation. I know
Yeah, it was a lot
you're
of fun.
yeah, super busy, and I know you're super busy, but the flow is really good, and I think people can take a lot, from someone
Mm-hmm.
like you, that someone who started just playing video games and competing for fun, which I think a lot of people in this space have done,
Oh,
and
everyone. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they turn that, like, this is, you can easily turn into something bigger if you just put your mind to it and you decide that you want to do it. Especially in the world of esports, things can happen so quickly.
Right.
It's not like a step by step process. Sometimes you just jump to the top if you can get
Mm-hmm.
lucky. But continue to do that. But yeah, man, before we head on out, is there any socials that you want to shout out to yourself, like your personal ones or the teams or anything like that before we head on out?
Yeah, I mean, my personal, follow me at JBProdigy on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And for the teams, of course, follow ATL Reign and ATL Faze on all socials.
Mm-hmm.
The leagues are starting up soon, so if you support us, we're starting to play real soon. So stay connected for all our socials.
Yeah, exactly. Atlanta Reign, I think the season starts like February 29th, I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure. Yep. And your first home stands in March, and then CDL is obviously next weekend. So it's very quick. And yeah, man, I appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, for anyone who's listening, Hal will have all his stuff linked in the description for his personals and all the ATL teams stuff. And if you're listening on Spotify, like you said, JBProdigy for his and then I'm at Samajama TV. The week that this gets published, I will be promoting all of his stuff as well. So you can go to either one of us to figure that out. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming by, and hopefully the Reign can have another successful season, finishing top 6 their first year
Mm-hmm.
was really good.
We're gonna win it this year.
Yeah,
100%.
I hope so, man. I'll be rooting for you guys for sure, and I'm definitely think Faze they're 100% the number one team going into the first event. I think it's not even close. Yeah, so and I love that team as a whole, so I'll be definitely rooting for them. But yeah, man, thank you so much, and yeah, any closing remarks before we head on out?
No, thanks for having me, dude. It was a lot of fun.
All right, man. Yeah, for everyone who's listening, thank you so much for listening to Content Workshop, and we will be alive next Sunday. Thanks, guys.